The showdown over Ebola quarantine restrictions. The nurse sent home to Maine after being detained in New Jersey says she will defy Maine's voluntary quarantine. And she took another jab today at Governor Christie. CBS 2 political reporter Marcia Kramer has the story.
She left New Jersey after vehemently protesting Ebola quarantine policy, and Nurse Casey Hickox is doing the same thing now that she's home in Fort Kent, Maine. State officials there want her to voluntarily quarantine herself until November 10th. After treating Ebola patients in Sierra Leone, she says no way, saying she remains
appalled by these home quarantine policies that have been forced upon me, even though I am in perfectly good health and feeling strong.
Hickox is staying with boyfriend Ted Wilbur. Reporters and state police camped outside the home as Maine's governor is seeking legal authority to keep her in isolation.
I'm thankful to be out of the tent in Newark, but I found myself in yet another prison, just in a different environment.
Hickox critical of the quarantine policy first invoked by Governor Christie and New York Governor Andrew Cuomo.
I am not going to sit around and be bullied by politicians and forced to stay in my home when I am not a risk to the American public.
It's unfortunate, that the nurse has decided she doesn't want to voluntarily quarantine now in Maine. And this is the point I was making before. Voluntary quarantine doesn't work.
At least 6 states are following the lead of New York and New Jersey, and the Pentagon approved the same 21-day voluntary quarantine for troops returning from Ebola response missions in West Africa.
This is also a policy that was discussed in great detail by the communities, by the families of our military men and women, and they very much wanted a safety valve on this.
Well, 8 people in Michigan and 5 in Indiana are also being monitored for possible exposure to the Ebola virus. Late today, President Obama said the United States can't seal itself off from the world in the fight against the disease, and that returning volunteer healthcare workers should be treated with dignity and respect. Maurice?
Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you. Well,